ancestors were conservationists. They knew how much to take, they knew what to take, and they also knew what not to take and what should be preserved.
अंत में हम आमंत्रित करते हैं Y.Nuklu फोम जी। आप नागालैंड से हैं। आपको समुदाय संरक्षित क्षेत्र की स्थापना, जैव विविधता कॉरिडोर को तैयार करने और अमूर फाल्कन जनसंख्या को पुनर्जीवित करने के लिए विटली सम्मान से सम्मानित किया गया है।
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity given to me. I would like to thank the organizers, FES, DEES, Landstack, UNTP, and all the organizers for bringing each of us here and giving us this platform. We were asked to speak for 9 minutes, and my journey is almost 19 years. And it just dawned on me when I was given 9 minutes, I just remembered a song. Kaha Shuru Kaha Kotam.
Very good.
And my 19 years of journey on the biodiversity conservation, I really don't know where to start and where to begin, end. But I'll try to be very precise. Like Sir introduced, my parents wanted me to work in the church. And I did work in the church, but not that I was not satisfied. I came out from the church, but the orientation that I had, I think each of us have our sacred scriptures. I do a lot of reading on Bhagavad Gita. I do read Quran, and I also read the Bible. I'll begin by telling you a story in the Bible where Jesus fed the 5,000. And one small boy asked this pastor, the priest, how could, Jesus feed 5,000 people with just 2 fishes and 5 loaves? And this priest was a very old man. He responded, "Oh, samay mein, oh machli tha ghar jaise bara ghar tha." The fishes were like big houses. And it just dawned on me that, we need to learn more about economics in the Bible, science in the scriptures. I'll come back to that story a little later. I grew up with my grandfather, and when he took me to the forest, he would tell me, "Quiet, quiet." And I was a little nervous, and he would always tell me, "The nature is mourning." And I did not realize, and I would ask my grandfather, "How is it? I don't hear." And he would translate that to me by saying, And then I tried to understand in the sacred scriptures that the nature was literally mourning. Today we have so much to talk about the sick environment. Earlier we had threat, and the threat was between one country and the other country. We had conflict between communities and communities. But in our 21st century, we have the biggest threat, and the threat is coming out of nowhere, but we ourselves have created. And this biggest threat is the environment that has come against us. We talk about global warming and climate change, but in our own context, in our rural context, we have realized that it's not just the flood, it's not just the mudslide, but we talk about the pests and insects attacking our livelihood system. The quantum of production in our dune fields are going low. The water wells, which were actually drank by our ancestors, are drying up. And also there is an extinction and depletion of all the floral and faunal species. Therefore, I realized that I need to have an intervention, but this intervention needs to have a foundation, a basis. So I went back to my village of Yamchen in the state of Nagaland, in eastern Nagaland, in 2004-05. It was very difficult initially because to convince the hunting community and those people who depended their livelihoods on forests to stop hunting and to stop june cultivation was not a walk into the garden of rose. But slowly I adopted the model called from shooting with guns to shooting with binoculars, shooting with guns to shooting with cameras and camera traps. So when we started using this model, we set up camera traps and gave them binoculars and cameras, and whoever identifies a new species in the forest through the camera traps and the binoculars and the cameras, we started giving them 400 rupees, 200 rupees, and actually that mechanism very interestingly worked. and people started coming together. Very interestingly, within a span of, we started in 2004-05, by 2008, we could see the regeneration of many wild species in our biodiversity conservation. It was, initially it was around 10 square kilometers. Today it covers around 17 square kilometers, just in one village. Then it was not just the revival, regeneration of the other floral and faunal species, but a blessing was the migration of the Amur falcons to our conservation site. And it became one of the major roosting sites. And thanks to this wonderful Amur falcon for bringing me here. And I think it's because of the Amur falcon which connects people. The Amur falcon, as I see, not only connects the landscape, it connects policymakers, it connects experts, scientists, and small community leaders like us who also works on the conservation. And this, the Amur falcon roosting, the numbers increased from few thousands to almost like the last record we have last year was around 1.7 millions. I'm talking about around 16, 17 lakhs. So we adopted this model of shooting with guns to shooting with binoculars and cameras, and we could see the regeneration of many, many species. But the challenging part was whenever the wild species goes out of the demarcated area where the other communities have not conserved, they get shot. So finally we decided to create this larger landscape conservation, which we call it as the Biodiversity Peace Corridor. So here we bring together the conflicting communities, to make the story very short, and also create a safe asylum to many of the wild species which are endangered and also which are threatened. So today, under the Peace Corridor, we are bringing together some 20 to 25 communities. I come from a region called Eastern Nagaland, which has been so much, I've talked in the country. We are a completely neglected community. But we are bordered to Myanmar. And so I'm talking about some 500 to almost like 1,000 villages in the India-Myanmar border. And that's the real corridor, a biodiversity hotspot. We also work on the education, where we think that instilling the biodiversity concept to the small children is very important, so that after 15 years, 20 years from now, we don't have to be so much concerned about the biodiversity conservation. So we have started an education model called as the Alichok Katamia, where Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we teach math, science, and English. But especially on Friday, we talk to them about conservation. We talk to them about skill development and also other culture and traditional values. And so these are some of the things we do, and also the integration of livelihood intervention. We work with women, empowering the women SDGs. Now let me close like this. Like I said, the sacred scripture has so much to tell about conservation. And as my orientation to, earlier as a church worker, Bible has so much to talk. Sacred scriptures, Hinduism, especially in Bhagavad Gita, Quran, especially I read the Bible, has so much to talk about nitrogen fixation. It has so much to talk about biology, zoology, and so many things. And you talk about any subject, the sacred scriptures is like the queen of all sciences. And therefore I would encourage each of us to drag resources from this and get involved in this larger concept of biodiversity conservation. What we do is a very little contribution, but I also believe in the whole of northeastern region there are many NGOs who are engaged in biodiversity conservation, and uniquely they are contributing to the global biodiversity conservation.